Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome in Defeating the Curse. Week 13 has come and has gone. I think 12, 13, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. All the Commanders' losses run together at this point, FP. It's been happy Thanksgiving, belated Thanksgiving to you, sir, and to everyone listening. I know we recorded a bit early last week, and I think we all picked Dallas to win that game, FP. I don't think any of us predicted a complete and disgusting blowout like that. Although I do remember you in the chat minutes before the game kicked off saying, "I hope they lose by 50." Am I misremembering that, or do I?
I think I actually said 48-6, which is close enough to 45-10. So
yeah, but it was. I just recall that as I was sitting down, the first part of the meal was over. I was kind of getting comfortable, ready to go. And then, ding, 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 I check my phone, and it's FP saying they're going to lose by 150. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I mean, if that happens, it's got to be the end of JDR. And there was a tangent conversation there, and it continued through most of the game. And halftime, maybe they couldn't fire or make a coaching change with 4 days between games, given that they played on Sunday, and then they were playing again on Thursday, on Thanksgiving. But the expectation was, I think as that game progressed, that we started to say it, and I think a lot of the talking heads locally started to say the same thing. If the game ends ugly, it's got to be the end for JDR, right? Like the only reprieve here, or the only reason he was still coaching on Thanksgiving, was that there wasn't enough time to release a statement, make the changes necessary, fly to Dallas, get a practice in, a walkthrough in, play the game. Maybe not, right? I don't know. He seemed like it was a dead man walking basically since week 3 or 4 of the season. I think it's been the same recurring. I mean, literally, if you picked a random podcast between weeks 3 and 7 that we recorded, it would be the same stuff, right? Rivera looks
right,
like not doing anything. JDR, the scheme.
Just this year. You could also go back the other 2 years.
Several years. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But regardless, he's out now, and it looks like Ron's going to be the one calling plays from this point forward. I'm not really sure how you feel about it. I mean, he had to do something. But, that happened on Friday. Yesterday, we get news that Harris has basically told Ron he's not coming back. So, okay. So, we're legitimately now in a lame duck situation. Where do you go from here?
I think, first of all, we can't give Ron any credit when it comes to firing JDR. I truly don't think...
You don't want to.
No. I truly don't think he would have fired JDR if the media didn't turn up the heat on him. So that presser right after the Cowboys game, I forgot who it was. It was either JP or the CBS guy. I forgot his name. But they were basically asked, they're like, if you don't change anything, how can you expect the players to change? Yes. How can you expect the product to change?
Yes. Can the players expect a different outcome if the coaching doesn't change?
And Ron basically was like, I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm not going to answer that question.
Yep.
And then his statement released from the Commanders directly quoted that question.
Yeah.
Which makes me think,
He's reacting to everything.
Yeah, he just reacted to media.
Yeah. It was the written form of last year. Oh, we're eliminated? Oh,
yeah, 100%. So I don't. If our media was not as, I don't know, tenacious as it is, and didn't apply heat, then I don't think Ron would have fired JDR.
I think this is a really important point that folks outside of DC Metro don't understand. We're not New York. It's not LA, although I would say LA doesn't really care about the NFL. But it's not New England, right? It's not New York. It's maybe not even Chicago, but we pay attention here. We have informed. We don't have goofball talk radio in DC. We have it's an adult version of everything. I don't know how else to
it was the news capital of the country.
Yeah, this is a serious
even our beat reporters are very well prepared.
They're classically trained, and they work in rooms with real reporters, and they know how to ask real questions. I don't think people give them as a media corps enough credit. This is just my own opinion. And I think Ron, even now, 4 years on into the job here in DC, he still treats them like it's Charlotte. Like it's just
Right. Our
yeah,
local
we're gonna go have
media
picnics
is
after.
in essence national media. That's
Yes,
just how it is
and
being part of
I
DC.
think he's
That's why this market
consistently
is so big.
right. But it's also an informed. It's an informed audience. It's a legacy franchise. Like people here, like they know. Like we're not experts. I don't want to say like everyone's an expert, but we generally know what we're looking at. We're not an expansion franchise that's existed for 5 minutes
Right.
in comparison like the Panthers. I still think he's figuring that out. I think if you go back to when he was first hired, there was okay, we were excited. We got a coach, somebody who's going to help, set a new path forward. And even if you look back now, maybe some of this is revisionist history, but he starts onboarding all of the Panthers guys, all of them.
Yeah.
And like
Picked up on it quick.
with each one of them, players, staff, front office, whatever, all we're like, like why? Like there's no one in the building, there's no one else in the country
Yeah.
that can
No,
do this. Like
100%.
why are we the DC Panthers? And it just kind of was always there.
But then on top of that, you could go from Dan Snyder's Happy Thanksgiving introduction to Ron Rivera
Sure.
to literally this past Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Ron has shot himself in the foot with the media
Yeah.
over and over and over again,
Repeatedly,
where
yes.
he will deny, yell, defend, and then all of a sudden change direction and do what we said.
He wants everyone to kind of like kiss the ring and submit to the powers that be. And he is the powers that be, right?
Right.
He's in charge of all things football. I think the one thing we could talk about, there's a lot of discussion about potential head coaching, options beyond Bieniemy. There's a tongue twister. But Ron, the GM, is who I take exception to first and foremost, right? Ron, the GM, has to be separated from Ron, the head coach. If you were dealing with two different people, I think you could extend some grace here to Ron, the head coach, and say, if he didn't have control of the people, I think you could say maybe the talent was lacking in some ways. Maybe there would be just a smidge of grace extended towards the head coach. But because he's responsible for both,
Right.
and as the GM, it's been atrocious. We're going into an offseason now, FP. Forget about Ron here for a second, but the team needs what it needed. Like if you listen to our draft special last summer, we weren't sure about Howell, okay, but we weren't ready to draft another quarterback in the position that we were going to be drafting in. But we needed offensive line help. We needed D-line help. We needed secondary help. Are those not the exact same talking points we're dealing with right now?
We just had an offline chat about it.
It's a failure.
All our needs are exactly the same, except you stumbled into a quarterback that could
but
continue forward.
I think I've said this before. We're not good enough of a team or a franchise. Frankly, I don't think any team should not be considering drafting a quarterback every single year, right?
Agreed.
This is a couple years ago when I think it was Clay Travis that started saying it. I started parroting it. I loved it, right? It was a hot take, but now it's not such a hot take. You should always be drafting a quarterback.
100%.
You're drafting potentially in the top 5. Like you can't just say we have our guy, we're not going to look. And if the guy you want is if you can trade down, get some more picks, like I think a talented GM can do something with a 4th, 5th, 6th overall pick to get the right mix of talent.
I think Sam has proven enough that you don't have to waste a top 3 pick or your first 3 picks, since we have multiple 2s and 3s. I don't think you have to waste your first 3 picks on a quarterback. I think he's earned enough to not have to do that right away. But 100%. Jacoby's probably gone. You need to draft a replacement, draft somebody else that's going to learn the system, that's going to come up through the rings. It's a must.
Yep.
But also, this is, I don't know how it happened. It's like by the grace of the football gods, we are finally, for the first time ever in 25, 30 years, the golden child of the NFL when it comes to off-season
destination
and where you want to go.
Yes.
And it's even amplified even more with Tepper firing the head coach of the Panthers.
Yeah, you want to talk about short fuse. That guy's got short fuse. That guy has fired.
But
a ridiculous amount of coaches, and he's paying all of them.
All of them, yes. But it's putting it, at least for me, it put me in check with the fire Ron now, the fire everyone and start over. Harris and his patience, we were all annoyed with it last week. JDR being fired was enough to hold me over. But looking at it now,
Easily pleased.
no, but looking at it now, it makes sense that Harris is patient because you suddenly are not an ownership group that has that short fuse, that have the warts on it, as Grant put it.
Yeah.
And somebody else coming in will be like, well, at least they let a very respected coach leave gracefully, right? It's not ugly. That's something that Snyder would have done. It would have been ugly and ungraceful, and then it would have left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So Harris practicing his patience, as much as we all didn't want it a week ago, it's a good thing.
I gotta say, I'm a little surprised by this take. I don't mind it. I think like it's a very mature take from UFP. Very mature. Like
if JDR were still
lines,
here, if JDR were still here, there'd be F-bombs left.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's teams that have moved on from their coaches much faster, and I think every time that happened, especially when you look at teams that were underperforming, right? But they hadn't bottomed out the way the Commanders have, especially on defense. I mean, they are,
I mean,
like no one expected or predicted this defense to go from top 6, 7 to worst. When that's where they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's really bad, right? You say what you want about JDR. His scheme is archaic. It's annoying. He's a dinosaur.
He still shouldn't be.
He performed. He did perform. I mean, the year they made the playoffs, with when Heineke came in and the COVID year, right? It was largely because JDR's defense was just outstanding, right? Outstanding. It just didn't happen. It didn't happen this year. I'm curious to see how Ron changes things up, if he does at all. I think he has to. Because frankly, if they perform just as poorly, then what was the point of moving on from JDR?
Yeah, it's going to sound like I'm very rude towards Ron Rivera, but I think he's going to overly simplify the defense. And I think he came out and said that. He's going to simplify the defense so that the players react faster and are in position faster.
I don't think it's going to make Barton faster, although Barton, welcome back. Like, I think he's going to be activated. Is Cody going to be activated this weekend?
I think he was playing against the Cowboys, I believe.
Maybe I got my names mixed up. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was.
He came in. That was the change that Ron made.
Well, Mayo looked like he was getting. I mean, 2 weeks ago. Like, listen, the linebackers aren't going to get faster because Ron simplifies the game plan. They're not going to be.
It's not so much it's the secondary, and apparently Forbes has a boo-boo on his elbow. The secondary gets confused if they're
a boot on his elbow, so he can't run to the right.
Yes, and apparently,
I don't get it.
Based on the last 2 games, it has become very clear that our secondary can't figure out if they're supposed to be in man or zone.
Something is amiss there. Yes,
they can't figure it out. They don't know how to communicate to each other.
And these receivers aren't making like spectacular grabs, right?
They're
wide open,
one double step. Wide open.
Yeah, and there's no one there. There's no over-the-top coverage.
Yeah.
The stat that blew me away, FP, was NFL teams. Did you see the stat? They were 57-0 in the last 25 seasons. If the team runs for 100, passes for 250 or more, has the ball for 35 minutes or more, doesn't commit more than 25 yards of penalties, and no more than 1 turnover. They are 57-0.
Glad we could be that.
We did all of those things and lost by 35. All of them and lost by 35. That is like next level. Like that's like I don't know what that is. That's like
it's the same thing that happened a week ago where no team has gotten 9 sacks and lost. It just the stats that we have been putting up or breaking or confusing the world with this season. It's astronomical. And the Dolphins come into town. I think they're the number 1 team to score touchdowns outside of the red zone.
Yeah.
And we're the number 1 team to give up touchdowns.
Fire every one of them up. Yes.
It's
also the coach's coming home party, right? This is where he really got his first start.
100%.
Like he knows the terrible building. I'm sure he's still got people in the building, but regardless,
I haven't been watching the Dolphins Hard Knocks in season. I'll tune in for this. Tune in for
I'd like
that
to
one.
see that. I'd like to see that as well. I mean, this is we'll talk about I have a couple thoughts on the Dolphins too. I mean, I got them outside of my top 5, I think, just by a smidge. But I mean, the Dolphins are going to be a recurring theme here. They're going to come in here and do work. I think there's one guy on the sideline though that you've got a pretty
He's
pretty
my guy.
significant. You got eyes for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And you sent me something to read about 30 minutes ago, and I read it, and I got eyes for him too now. I'm going to be
Yeah.
watching one coach there pretty closely. You want to give us a drive-by analysis here? FP's take on who the
I
coach
mean,
might be?
the new coach should be Frank Smith, the coordinator of the Dolphins. And if you want to read something, just read his biography on the Dolphins website. And that man, for 15 seasons now, has had a very strong input on turning the Dolphins offense around, making them one of the best, most yards, most scoring offense. He did it with tight ends and Darren Waller and with the Raiders when he was really, really well. He did it with the Saints. He's getting linemen to Pro Bowls. He's doing so many things. He's had a hand and a play in so many different teams and elevating so many positions and so many offenses. He's my guy. And if you look at this Dolphins offense, and it kind of goes into sort of what we should do with all our draft picks, which is why I love him. If you look at that Dolphins offense, it is, and we'll see it firsthand on Sunday, it is a beautiful thing to see. And I'm sure a lot of it is McDaniels, but it's an offense that fires on all cylinders, and it's a high revving, high output machine, which is exactly what we need. And I think Sam Howell has proven he can sling the ball around clearly. I mean, his name is right up there with Tua as far as passing yards. And a lot of people hate me when I say this, but if you bring in an elite wide receiver.
So I was one of those guys, right? And I have waffled and wavered and gone back and forth on Terry specifically a lot. And I think my official position is going to remain from this point forward. He's a number 1 on this team. He's not an elite number 1.
Right.
He's not a game-changing number 1. He's a guy that you can 70% of the time throw it towards him and have confidence he's going to catch it. He does have drops from time to time. He doesn't get that crazy Stevie kills him because he doesn't get that crazy separation. He's got all the speed in the world.
And he body catches.
Right? That's why there's some deflections and things. He's a fine receiver. And I believe that you can use him and Jahan. I think I don't want them drafting a receiver. Let me put it that way. I don't want the Skins going out there and going after a wide receiver. Now there's a couple tight ends maybe that make more sense that we need, but Terry is an interesting spot, right? Because he's clearly got the speed and has in the past taken over or dominated a game, but he's not that just super alpha number 1 guy that you throw the ball towards him and he's going to make magic happen every time.
There's somebody that potentially falls to you that is that, which is Marvin Harrison Jr., also from Ohio. And I would say I would be against this idea if we didn't recoup if we didn't recoup some draft picks from losing Sweat and Chase. I would be against this, but we did get those draft picks.
You're saying you take the best available.
I'm saying if a true elite receiver comes down to us in the first round, use that pick on him. Don't overdraft. Don't bring in a project. You get the elite receiver, right? You get the next Tyreek Hill, the next Justin Jefferson, whatever. And to keep with the Dolphins theme, if Marvin Harrison is your Tyreek, Terry is your Waddle, and there's your offense that can.
And what an amazing asset
Jahan would be. And if your third is Jahan, Curtis is probably gone. Pringle and Diami are trash. I don't want them on this team anymore. That is a good wide receiver room. We have a good wide receiver room now. That is a great wide receiver room.
A lot of money and draft capital tied up in that, though, right? It has shade. Yeah. I mean, potentially at a more impactful position than the D line, but the team has so many other. Like they have to draft 3
100%,
offensive
100%.
3.
But if you look at the NFL from a 30,000-foot view, you need that offense.
You need receivers. Sure.
You need that offense that can do it.
Except if you're the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs do it with me and you playing receiver. They're the only exception.
But look at the Chiefs right now. Nobody's really afraid of the Chiefs right now because nobody on that team can catch the ball.
That rookie Rice though he's good.
He's good.
He's good.
But nobody's really scared of the offense, the Chiefs' offense as they have been in years past. But because you have the 2 second-round picks, the 2 third-round picks, build the team correctly that way, right? The first-round pick, commit to an elite, but then you can go O-line, tight end, O-line, edge rusher, because we need that now, and just keep filling in all those gaps. That's fine. You still have 4 picks in the top 5,
sure,
or the top 100.
Yeah. You said it at the top, right? At the jump. This is an attractive position for someone to come in because you have pieces. Robinson is a serviceable running back. Gibson potentially a good spell back. I don't think he'll be on the team next at the end of next training camp. You have at least 2 receivers in place. If your top 2 receivers remain your top 2 receivers, I think scheme gets you a long way. If you can get one more, okay, like you could convince me that's the way to do it. Offensive line, I mean, I miss Morgan Moses, right? I miss Sheriff. Like these pieces that have at times been like a Band-Aid here. I mean, they're studs. They're studs. I mean, was it Morgan is rated where right now?
Pro Football Focus has him as the 4th best right tackle in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we get anything for him when he left?
No. And the reason he left is just because Ron thought we could do better.
Did we?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So like and this is why I go back to what I said, right? Ron, the GM, like I would have preferred before the JDR firing that the Harris group or somebody, Magic can just tweet it. Ron is no longer the GM of the team, right?
Yeah.
The GM halfway through the season isn't doing anything. There's no trades to be made anyway. If Ron wants to quit over it, so be it. Right. But like at that point, you remove him having to fire his friend JDR. You do it from the leadership position. And that's it. And you got to move forward. You know, Bieniemy is another interesting piece. Like I'm not sure what the best case scenario would have been for Bieniemy coming here last summer, except to prove he can do it without Reed. Does it count what he's doing now? Is he doing it without Reed?
No.
I think it's yes, but a non-convincing yes.
It's.
I think he's getting the offense isn't necessarily way better than Turner's offense, but he's doing it with I was going to say he's doing it with a lesser quarterback, but Howell is way superior to Heineke.
So the problem with EB, there's a lot of problems with EB suddenly, right? So there's rumors coming out
about the coup. You talking about the coup in the locker room?
The players don't want him. The players don't want him to have as much assistant head coach powers as he has.
What kind of power do you think he has?
I don't know. The pace of the practice. I don't understand.
Did the players think he's chatting up with JDR? I mean, he's the only one talking on the sideline.
I don't understand how anybody on this team can complain about coaching when you're 4 wins and the worst defense we've ever seen in DC.
Of course,
nobody should be allowed to complain.
What is the highlight of the season to date? Is it the Broncos comeback victory, or is it almost beating the Eagles twice? What's the highlight of the season here?
That's just so painful to
I know, but like, what are these players doing? Like, they're professionals. I get it, right? They're still playing for something, but like, shut up about the coach. Like, be quiet. Like,
but here's the thing with EB, right? He's polarizing because you have half of the fan base. They go, look at Sam Howell, look at his passing yards. He's top in passing yards, this, that, and the other. Great. Yes, but we're passing 65 times a game. It's bound to happen.
Well, I take it a step further. Without Bieniemy, Howell may not be the quarterback. Ron was like, I didn't know what? How did you not know? You see the guy every day for a year. You didn't know what you had.
I mean,
but it's very possible that he says we're going to sit the kid for another year. Like, it's very, very plausible.
Yeah.
And it's bringing Jacoby to continue to grow the kid on the bench, right? To leverage and try to get another year out of ownership. It's
that would have completely changed what happens this offseason with the GM and the head coach coming.
Yes.
And maybe that top 4 or 5 pick.
Yeah, the reason this job is attractive is because you got Howell on 3 more years, assuming he doesn't hold out, right? 3 more years at a cheap deal. You have receivers in place. You need to fill some significant holes, but aside from, I mean, the record would have you believe they are way further away from being competitive.
Right.
My eyeballs, I don't, maybe I'm just too close to the team, but I don't see it that way. Like, they feel much better to me on paper as a team right now constructed than a Giants or maybe even
Yeah, I
Bears.
truly
Patriots
believe.
are like a legit mess.
Yeah, well, I think Bill's messing with the team a little bit, but I truly believe a proper GM that comes in, an analytical GM, just like Harris wants, and then you bring in a head coach who can say, yes, I see what Sam has done. I can work with him. I truly think you can get essentially a Texans turnaround time frame where D'Amico Ryans comes in and they go from worst to darlings of the NFL
Yeah.
in the hunt.
That guy's not available, right?
He's not available. No, but it's possible. But the thing with EB, I don't see how a GM and a head coach come in and they say, "Yeah, we'll take what's already here. We're not going to get our own guy." I don't see that
Now, the
happening. And I don't think I'm really
only
mad at that either
the
because
only exception would be if the GM comes over from like the Chiefs, where EB's like a known commodity to them,
yeah,
or if like Andy Reid decides they win the Super Bowl and retire, and he wants to just be, like Holmgren did that, right? I just want to be in charge of personnel.
I mean, hey,
Okay,
I
right?
would love that.
Okay, exactly. Like there's a way, there is a path
But
to
it's a
extremely
minute
unlikely.
1% probability that
Yeah.
that he's staying here.
Extremely unlikely. Yeah.
But I mean, all the passing yards that we have, we rank 24th in yards per pass attempt or something like that. So there's a big skew in how well this offense is doing under EB, right? You should Brian Robinson has shown that he is a very good running back. I think he's trending
Very
as
good.
he's trending as one of like the top 5-6 running backs out there.
You could do
At least when it comes to scoring or yards between red zones, whatever. I don't know.
I mean,
But
he runs hard.
he runs hard
Typically doesn't
behind a
fumble.
terrible line.
Yeah, typically doesn't fumble. His hands have improved tremendously this season,
Yeah,
right? He can make. He doesn't have that speed though, like to just house call from anywhere. He doesn't have that.
right.
The
But
Dolphins
he's
have that times two. I mean,
yes.
this defense. Barkley is an amazing running back. The Dolphins have two of those guys. Like,
yeah.
they have two, and they're both faster. They're both faster
We're
than
gonna get
Barkley.
shredded.
The
We're gonna
linebackers
get
are gonna get shredded.
Raheem Mostert against Cody Barton is gonna be so bad.
If you just, I mean, the wheel route that the Giants ran like 500 times against the Commanders, both times they've played, like legitimately, the Dolphins can run that with two different guys at the same time and get mismatches anytime. It's going to be a track meet,
And you still have Tyreek on the field. Tyreek's going to get 700 yards.
I don't want to see Forbes one-on-one because Tyreek might go for, he might be the first receiver to have like 5 catches for 300 yards.
I truly can see that happening. Yes. Yeah. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, it's a difficult position that this defense and Ron is now supposed to save the day, right? Call the defense. I mean, if we'll see, but the Commanders, I don't really know where they go from here, right? Like winning games at this point is not necessarily the thing you want to do, right? After you drop 2 to the Giants, you drop to the Seahawks. Like those were the last 3. The Bears game, obviously. Like even if you throw in the Eagles games, like it's all revisionist history, right? But their record could easily have been reversed.
Yeah.
But it's not, right? So where you are right now, you're better off not winning a whole lot more games. Right?
But then that is the issue with Ron, right? Ron will get a random upset over the Dolphins or the Niners, and then Ron will find a way to beat the Jets and the Rams, and then Ron will find a way to beat the Cowboys at home, and then all of a sudden our shiny top 4, top 5 pick,
he gets to claim, near 500 on his way out.
Right.
We're drafting 11th.
Yeah. And that the whole game plan that I have with
it's
the
gone.
Dolphins coordinator, and you bring in Marvin Harris and you do all this stuff.
Hey, listen, man, that's I mean, if you wanted to write that up as a story, right? Like as a human, not pull an SI bit and just have Chat GPT write it for you. Like that's a good script.
It's a great script.
This is the guy we want to coach. This is how we want to use our top 5, top 6 draft pick. And then we go from there.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do want to talk about some of the better teams. The Commanders, listen, I've got them in the bottom 5 where they belong. Maybe they're not as bad as the Patriots, and they did beat the Patriots. They're not as dysfunctional as the Panthers. Panthers are in real bad shape. I think they belong kind of lumped in with the Cardinals and the Titans, kind of somewhere in that,
Yeah.
bottom. They're just not a good. These are not good teams, right? They're non-competitive. There's some talent on all of those rosters. The Giants, Jets, and Bears. I think they're worse than those 3 teams. The Giants beat them twice, so I can't put the Giants below them. The Jets, I don't know what to do with the Jets. Their record says that they should. I mean, their personnel, they should be better than they are, but they're not. So you are what your record is. And the Bears, I don't really have a read on the Bears, but my worst teams in the league are Panthers, Patriots, Commanders, Cardinals, and Titans.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely Panthers and Patriots. I would truly put. I think I'm putting the Commanders right there at 29, 30,
Yeah.
30.
I mean, the Cardinals, I know they beat the Cardinals, but the Cardinals, they just look
But
bad.
the Cardinals don't look as bad with Kyler, right? So
Yeah, they didn't look terrible with Dobbs. I mean, they
Yeah.
have receivers, they've got a running back, they've got
their
a
defense is better. I don't think they're worse than us.
No, and then the Titans too. Titans play
Yeah.
ugly. I mean, they've got questions at quarterback. They don't really have a receiver to catch the ball. I mean, Hopkins is I don't know.
I mean, he's a million years old, but I mean, but I would equate us to the Titans probably the most, but their defense plays better than our defense.
Yeah,
So,
more competitive. Keeps them in games.
Yeah,
I mean, it sucks. Like from where we were to where we are now. Like
Yeah,
that's
we should be hovering.
This
We
is
should be
the neighborhood.
hovering in the 12s to 16s.
Yes.
We're not. We're bottom dwellers yet again in the NFC East, on as well as the whole league.
Yeah, well, on track now to go over for 6. To go winless in the. I don't think that's been done in forever, right? To win 0 games in your division. So
Not at least not in the NFC East, because every game is a toss up
Sure.
mostly. But yeah, we'll be
Thanksgiving wasn't so much of a toss up though. That one was
turkey leg
Yeah.
hiding in the Salvation
what,
Army
good for them.
Bowl. It's
But
just
good for them. Good for them. They're so confident they were going to score that they put food in both end zones. And if you, I don't know if you watched the game back, but after like one of the early touchdowns, they went to do it, and Dak said, "No, we're going to score. We're going to
wait till
score."
we score more.
And he's even said it. He even had the audacity to say it in the post game. He's like, "Yeah, we knew we were going to score again later, so we just deferred the celebration until later on."
But it needed to happen. Harris had to see it in front of his eyes. It was
Had to tweet about it. Right?
It was like the most watched regular season NFL game ever, something like that. Insane TV metrics for it.
But nobody cared. Like, when was the last time we didn't care about a Dallas game in DC? Like, that's how far the fan base. Hey, you guys. This is a tangent here, but like, I was getting some heat for doing some thrift shopping on eBay this past last couple of weeks. I'm buying old Redskins gear off eBay. It looks awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
and the
100%.
second I put it on, I just feel better. Like, that team is the team that I care about. Right?
Yeah.
As much as I try to care about the Commanders, it's not my team. It's not my team. Like, I don't have any affinity for the Commanders. I'm trying. I'm forcing it.
Well, that's why I wear this hat. It's the last time we'll have a Redskins logo and NFC East champions ever.
Yeah.
Last time ever.
Yeah. I mean, I have my Redskins hat somewhere. I mean, I'm even drawn. I usually wear this hat, the football team hat, right? Even this one, I can kind of like. I'm okay with this one. I'm okay with football team, but I don't like Commanders, right? And I'm
No.
doing all my thrift shopping. I'm buying all this like, secondhand, gently used, or none of it's ripoff yet, but maybe I'll get into the ripoff game here pretty soon. But I just feel better like we're rocking that gear. They could be 0-5,000, but like the colors matter to me, right?
Right.
The Commanders don't wear burgundy and gold. They wear trash bag black and
Maroon.
maroon.
We were Jim Zorn colors.
And yeah, like Jim Zorn, the prophecy of Jim Zorn came full circle, right? Like, where's the burgundy and gold? Where are our team colors, right? Like, when nobody cares about Dallas. Dallas week used to be such a deal. Even when the
Yeah.
team was down, you'd get up for Dallas week. And Dallas week plus Thanksgiving, we'd be doing shows all week long. Local
Yeah.
radio would be going crazy. Nobody cares. Like, and that's a Harris problem. Like, he's gonna have to deal with that. The sooner you get rid of Commanders and get back to something we understand or something we recognize, or at least the right colors. Like, is it too much to ask for the right colors? Can we just get the right colors?
I don't even want The thing that drives me crazy with the whole rebrand is the one thing universally loved was the uniforms.
Yeah.
The one, like, change the name, change the mascot, change the freaking HGTR, change Hail to the
Colors, keep the
Redskins song.
unis.
Nobody had to complain about the uniforms. You could freshen them up a little
Right.
bit, sure.
We're an expansion team now.
Like, why do, for 9,000 years it's been burgundy helmet, gold face mask? Why do we not have that anymore? That would immediately improve the helmet.
Why are we wearing trash bag black? Why?
Immediately improves the helmet if you have this.
Yeah.
It's all burgundy.
Well, and fans
Not
can
our
embrace
team.
that because we recognize that.
Right.
Even if it's got a W instead of
Yeah.
a C on there, just put a W on it.
I mean, that I truly hope Harris has something in the works, a better design firm than whatever Tanya Snyder, college intern hired POS, did for the Commanders.
Yeah.
I truly hope that it's simple changes that and we saw it. The first 3 weeks of this season. We saw the fan base ready to explode.
Yes.
Ready to come back 400-fold. But then Ron did what Ron does, and the team sucks, and we faded back down.
Yeah, but I feel strongly about this. I don't think any of us recognize Commanders. Like, we just, like, the stadium isn't full of Commanders gear.
Right.
It just isn't. Right.
Yeah.
When they're like, even, I mean, this is another tangent. The kid, the 7-year-old that went to the Chiefs game over the weekend, right? Who's there in, half his face is black and the other half is painted red, and he's got the big, like, tribal Indian headwear on and all that stuff, Native American headwear and whatever.
Why is that allowed?
Why are the Chiefs allowed to have it? Like, why are they allowed to do the Seminole chop, the chop, and do the sound? Like, and when they do it, CBS pans wide and shows you the whole fan and all the state. Like, we didn't even do that. That wasn't our thing here. Like, we didn't do the chop. We didn't make the sound. We didn't do any of that.
Nope. We
But
just
it's
have
all
the
taken
logo.
away from us. Why?
Because
Why?
of Dan. It's because of Dan. That's
Okay,
it.
but, like, I hate to play the fair card, but, like,
I agree.
they got to enforce it universally. Like, that
I
kid,
agree.
and I'm not trying to like, Deadspin tried to cancel the kid, and everybody came out and, like, Deadspin's apparently going to get sued back into
I mean,
bankruptcy right now.
that kid's gonna get a lot.
They-
His
they
college
ran-
is
they
paid
ran-
for.
They ran a purposefully misleading story showing only one side of his face when you can clearly Google the kid and see both sides of his face. And it's half black, half red, right? Steelers games, black, yellow. Like, Cowboys games, blue, silver. Like, it's not a story. You want to make it about the Native American headwear, fine, except there's 80,000 people in Chiefs Kingdom, like, karate chopping. Like,
Yeah.
give me a break.
I mean, it is. I understand Redskins is derogatory, right? I get that, and Chiefs isn't. But if your whole thing is, so many things have changed because of cultural appropriation. Why did we change the logo of Land O'Lakes butter? Like, everything has been changed.
And Jemima's gone too.
Yeah, but tomahawk chops and headwear and calling yourself Arrowhead Stadium, I mean, like a weapon that was used. All of these things,
Sure.
allowed.
Why is
but that's-
Oklahoma still named Oklahoma? Oklahoma means red man.
Yeah,
Anybody? Redskins not allowed. Red man apparently okay.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to get into this because it just hurts me. Like, I was actually looking for my Redskins hoodie. I was going to put it on, but
Well, you have the Cleveland Indians become the Cleveland Guardians.
but they no one was telling
Indian's
them
not
to
a
do it. They just did it.
derogatory word.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
there's always. I know Magic may or may not be listening to the show, right? But Magic, get a little group together, okay? Get the tribal leaders of the various North American, Native American tribes in a room and say, we're going to go back to Redskins, or we're going to go to Warhogs, but bring back the logo or some variant of it. We're going to 1% will go, 1% of all sales will go, 2% of all sales will go to Native American charities, and do the spit and the handshake, and let's go. And,
You don't even have to do all of that. I think the entire fan base would welcome back Washington football team and our old uniforms.
yeah,
Doesn't even have to be that complicated.
I'll take football team with burgundy and gold. Burgundy and gold is what I need back. More. I love the
100%.
name, but I need the colors. I have no affinity for black and maroon and yellow, right? As Jay-Z said once upon a time, horny for Zorny.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I don't care about these colors. I don't care about this team. I don't know how we got on here, but I wanted to just do top 5, and then we can a couple other things I want to talk about. I'm gonna go top. I got Eagles. I know you're out on the Eagles. I know. I'll give you a second here to respond, but I got Eagles and Ravens 1-2. I got 49ers, Cowboys 3-4, and I'm big on the Cowboys right now. I think that team is better than people give them credit for. We'll see how they play under pressure, though. Right now, they're kind of playing, especially on Thanksgiving, it was house money. I got the Chiefs at 5, although I'm not confident that the Chiefs can stay there. And then Dolphins, Jags, and Lions kind of on that bubble looking in. And the Dolphins, we know they can score a ton of points. I'm low-key really – I love the Lions, but I'm big on the Jags. I think they've got a little bit of everything. They can score points. They can play defense. They're just hit or miss. Like, it just seems not every week. You're not getting their best every week.
I think I can't go high on the Eagles. I understand their record is what their record is. I still think they're a fraudulent team. So Jalen Hurts is
They should have lost 2 to the Skins.
He still fumbles a lot. He still throws a lot of terrible interceptions. I think the last 3 games that we've seen, at least in the first half, he's done absolutely nothing. Right? And the stars are the stars. That's why they're winning, right? You have the best front office in the NFL. You have everything kind of clicking for you, but you are AJ Brown and a tush push away from losing the game.
Sure.
Right? And that's every game. They're have you seen the Eagles put up a dominant win?
No.
The way the Ravens did over the Lions.
No.
You don't
have
see
a
it.
signature win. They have a few comebacks.
Few comebacks.
No signature win. No
Right.
Just outright domination of a team from start to finish.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think they have the best record. Yes, they're not the best team. I think the best team right now might be a toss-up between Ravens Niners, which I truly think will be our Super Bowl, but I think it's going to be Ravens Niners. They're kind of toss-up for 1 and 2. And then from there, I'll give you Eagles at 3. Chiefs, I can't give them 4. I think I would go probably Lions 4. And then I think I would go Chiefs. Then I would go Jags. Then I would go Cowboys. Because if you look at the Cowboys' records,
I think
Cowboys haven't beat a team with a winning record all
that
season.
defense is really good.
They haven't faced a team with a winning record.
That
defense wasn't really good against the Niners.
Listen, they can only play who's on their schedule, right? So I'm not going to hold it against them.
But when they faced the Niners, they looked terrible.
Sure. I think when we start thinking playoffs and which teams could make some noise, I think the Jags are going to be that like dark horse pick because they can do just like Ridley can catch anything and he can make house calls from pretty much anywhere on the field. Etienne when he's good, they just have nice pieces and the defense has been strong.
I actually have a really surprising team that hits close to you that amazingly is in the mix.
Don't say it.
It's the Broncos, baby.
Something happened.
Something happened. Yeah, after that loss to the Dolphins, where they gave up 70 points.
5 straight.
Big wins. Strong defense.
They're doing it
somehow. Strong defense.
Russell's not throwing the ball all that much, right? He's like 100. He's actually averaging just under 200 yards per game in those 5 wins.
But his QB rating, his efficiency, very good.
No more picks. Yeah. Long sustained drives, consistent sustained drives. Yes,
they're essentially doing what the Redskins were doing when we upset the Tom Brady Buccaneers, right? That one game where we just with Heineke just wouldn't give the ball away and then you win. That's what the Broncos are doing, right? Sound defense, couple playmakers on the outside on offense. QB that's not throwing the game away.
Judy gets overlooked. Cortland Sutton is outplaying him for sure. But they have some guys that can catch the ball. They're not gonna beat you in a foot race, but they will consistently catch the ball, especially in the red zone. Sutton has got maybe 3 of the top 5 catches this year.
Yeah.
For touchdowns.
But that's Look, we were all dogging on Sean Payton at the start of the year, right? He lost to the Commanders, then you give up 70, and then everything looks terrible, and him and Russ aren't a fit. But Sean Payton is Sean Payton, right? He's a good coach.
Yep.
He has a great track record.
He does.
Good coaching will outshine bad moments eventually. And we have gotten to the point now where good coaching for the Broncos has outshined. They made adjustments on defense. That defense looks really, really good right now. If I'm an AFC team that's in the hunt, I don't want to face the Broncos. I don't want to go to true home field advantage at Mile High.
You don't want to deal with snow
Yeah.
and altitude. No way.
Right. And that's just what good coaching does, right? Terrible start, but then you pull yourself out of it. Whereas Ron, terrible start,
Yeah.
somehow we get worse. Makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, one NFC team I think that I'm quietly rooting for is the Rams. The Rams are an interesting team as well.
They could be. It all depends on the health of Stafford.
And then they were excellent, but over the cap and no picks and whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, Stafford had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right. And the defense is getting sacks from everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they could make some noise too if they stay on the track that they're on, right? I mean,
that's kind of the
a lot of
good
band-aids and
coaching.
duct tape on that one, right? But
That's kind of good coaching is going to outshine bad games eventually. And McVay has proven he is a good coach.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we're not the Panthers, right? I'm glad we're not that. That's a bad situation, right? You went all in on Young. He doesn't look the part. He's too small. He doesn't make the right reads.
I mean, it's been years and years of them mishandling.
But now they've got
be positioned.
I mean, their best candidate might end up being somebody like ironically like a Ron Rivera who can come in and stabilize.
I would love.
He'll never go back, right? Like that.
I would love to see that reunion happen.
Maybe like a Greg Olson, maybe someone like that's got no coaching background but kind of understands the city. I mean, that's a tough one to go to, right? And I mean, is he the new Dan Snyder without the sexual assault or sexual?
It's a toss up between him and Irsay, but I mean, thankfully we're not in that conversation anymore.
Yeah. I'm happy to not be there. But do you think the Wizards will rebuild faster or be competitive faster than the Commanders? This was a FP floated or LP floated that one out. I told him no, but
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. The Wizards. How many Wizards minutes? How many minutes of the 17 games that they've played so far this year have you watched?
Roughly 6.
Do you know what the record is?
2 wins.
Well, they got you're close. They got 3 because they beat the Pistons.
Oh, right.
It was the
that barn burner that happened with the 2 worst teams.
It was
league.
It was 2-14 versus 2-15 yesterday, or 2-14 versus 2-14 last night. And the Wizards, they did win. Jordan Poole is legitimately
trash.
Not good. And I mean, I don't know where you go with this team, to be honest. I mean, they are.
But isn't the NBA? The NBA is just free agency centric, right? Just spend a little bit of money, bring in somebody, and then you can immediately turn the team around because it's all individual performances that have to gel together.
But it's very hard to get players to come to DC, as we have learned, I think, many, many times over. The Spurs, I mean, have you watched any Wemby action?
Yes.
Okay. They stink too.
Yes.
Right? They won 3 games as well. By the way, did you happen to catch Pop telling people to stop booing his baby Kawhi?
I mean, that's just.
Can you imagine what kind of cuck behavior is that? Well, what is that?
100%.
What is that? We don't do that here in San Antonio. We don't boo players from other teams. What?
Could you imagine
I paid money to come here because I want to see the Clippers and Paul George. I want to see Kawhi, and Kawhi shooting free throws, getting booed as he should because he chose not to stay in San Antonio. Why? Of course, they're allowed to boo. And Daddy gets on the microphone. Oh, guys, we don't do that here. Just quit it.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, we'll have to have a whole other podcast about how soft the country's gotten. But
it's shocking. I mean, if you work for the Spurs, if you work for the arena, what are you doing handing the coach the microphone during a live? It's a live play. It's not a timeout. It's not like a halftime or promotional thing during like a TV timeout. It's on live TV. Right, and Kawhi's just standing at the line waiting to shoot, and then Pops. Can you imagine being Kawhi at that moment? And you hear Pop's voice on the loudspeaker, like, stop booing him. Unless it was all like some super gamesmanship stuff. Like he's doing, like, mental gymnastics to get into Kawhi's head. I don't know. Like, it was just a terrible look for Pop.
Yeah, it just grow some balls. Just have some chest hair.
I mean, can we talk NBA, or can you fake it, or
I can fake it. I put on a couple games. I mean,
did you see the Lakers lose by like 5,000? They lost by 45.
I'm happy. I'm happy whenever the Lakers lose.
I mean, LeBron. I'm not a LeBron guy. The Lakers are 10-8. He's doing stuff that 40-year-olds aren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm not cheering for him. I'm not cheering against him.
it's annoying. It's annoying to admit how long he sustained success, right? And coming from a DC fan, right? When you have Ovi defying the law of like getting older the way he is, LeBron's doing the same thing. I mean, he's in that upper echelon of that conversation of Ovechkin and Brady and all these guys. He shouldn't be doing it. He's too old.
Yeah,
it's annoying. That's why I hate him, and I hate the Lakers as an organization. Except that I like that we have Magic Johnson as part owner.
I mean, what they're doing, they should be better than they are. They're not. I mean, they're 10-8. But you look at the league is very streaky, right? The Suns right now have won 7. Spurs have lost 12. The better teams, the Magic have won 7. The Pistons have lost 14, right? Like, the whole league, it's actually very similar, the NBA and the NFL, in that there's a lot of parity. Like, the good teams, like the Celtics, the Bucks, the Magic on the Eastern Conference, the Wolves, the Thunder, surprising everyone, they got their own off the court controversy.
Yeah,
which I'm not brave enough to talk about here, not yet anyway, until I understand a little bit more. The Nuggets, I mean, the Nuggets won with DeAndre Jordan, who's legitimately 1,000 years old, playing real minutes. It's interesting to see. Like, the NBA is not back. It's actually really hard to watch.
The in-season tournament and the courts drive me crazy.
Very bad. Very bad.
And I still don't understand it. And I'm pretty sure, I think the Wizards are eliminated from the in-season tournament. And I don't know what happens with that. Does that mean we stop playing?
I have
on
no
ugly
idea.
Courts?
Honestly, if it was like I think I talked about this before, but if it was like a national tournament where the go-go teams and the WNBA teams and the collegiate teams or the semi-pro teams, if they all, like the Globetrotters versus the Wizards or whatever,
I'd love it.
Right. Okay. Like, somebody will be crowned national champion, right? Like, at the end of this tournament, right? The national in-season tournament champion. But it's just the NBA teams playing against each other.
Yeah,
So,
but that's what I don't understand it.
League up here, like, bring the Canadian league, or bring some other teams. Like,
if the Wizards are eliminated from the in-season tournament, which I believe they are, do we still play in-season tournament games? Do we still play on ugly basketball courts?
I have no idea. I don't know why the court has to look so stupid. I have no idea.
It just makes.
I got no clue. I got no clue. Anyway, any final thoughts as we put a bow on this one?
I hope the Dolphins beat the record that they had against the Broncos and win by 80.
These guys out for blood. Like, you already lost. You think Rivera's not going to get fired? So the only thing that happens is players won't want to come here. Because
I almost just kind of want Ron to eat a slice of humble pie. Somewhere in his head, he thinks he's on top of all of this, and I need him. I need him to be served some humble pie.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can get LP in here maybe next week, and I think Stevie will be returning next week as well. There's he wanted to talk about some UFC stuff. I said fine, and I asked him if I could talk about soccer. He said absolutely not. And he was like, he threatened to stay away again, and I'm sure you echo the sentiment. So we'll put it there. We'll stop right there. Thank you, FP, for hanging out. My name is Joe. For anyone who is new to the show, you can find DTC on any social media platform and any podcast platform. Wherever you consume your podcast, you will find us. Just search DTC or Defeating the Curse. Thank you for hanging out with us. Until next week, we are out.